Wow, hello there, yogis and explorers. So nice to see so many faces as you're getting signed up and connected to your audio. I am letting more people in. Okay. So we'll probably do a couple of intros just as people are coming in. We actually have 67 people registered for this amazing virtual retreat this morning. Sometimes we have a few that might fall off, of course, but I would love to quickly introduce myself. I'll probably do that again, but my name is Dawn Oliver. I am the founder of Well Explored, and I am the host for these virtual retreats. So we're going to give it a few minutes just because I'm letting a lot of people in. So while you guys are getting settled so that we can do one nice introduction to Stanford Inn. And for those of you who are here right now, I will tell you that we have an amazing yoga class planned. We have some time to explore Stanford Inn with Joan and Jeff Stanford. And then we have a wonderful nutrition and wellness workshop. My name is Dawn Oliver. I am the founder of Well Explored. This is a wellness-inspired travel company, but we do all luxury travel across the board. The purpose of these virtual retreats is really to inspire connection through travel and through wellness, especially at a time when we're not all traveling. And I had actually launched the virtual retreat series back in April when no one was traveling. So it's a really wonderful opportunity to connect to new destinations, meet new people, learn wellness tips from around the world. So today we are diving into Mendocino, California with Stanford Inn. So I would love to introduce, we have just to my left, maybe she's to your left too, Catherine McMillan. Catherine is the resident yogi at Stanford Inn. She has been there for 17 years. So Catherine, if you'd like to just say hello and introduce yourself.
Good morning and welcome back. If you've been here before, I wish I could see all of you, and I feel you here in this room. And for those of you who haven't been here yet, welcome, and I hope that you're here in person soon. And meanwhile, I feel that we're all together in spirit. And this is a beautiful way to meet and deepen our practice, because truthfully, we need to stay in our bodies and on our mat. And sometimes when we're physically sharing space, that's tricky to do. So these virtual times offer us an opportunity to really deepen our practice. And it's delightful to be with you.
Celeste, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you. Yes, I've stayed at the Stanford Inn before a couple times. We love it. But I am a PE teacher and I teach yoga to elementary kids. And so I'm so excited today. I don't get to take yoga very often at all. And so I'm so excited today to take your class and to let someone bring it to me. And then I will use, I'm sure, your techniques and bring it to all of my students.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So I would love to just play for you a tiny short clip. It's about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, just to set the tone for, if you have not been to Stanford Inn, you can see a little glimpse of where we are, and you'll get to see more in our next session after the yoga class, of course. But I'm going to share my screen and show you this first 2-minute clip. So give me one moment. Can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. All right. So I'll make this.
And can you tell me that it's
maybe I'm down to my last dollar. I'm weak in the knees and soft in the holler. Found a place where we can go, a little piece of land where the west wind blows, where the west wind blows.
Hi, I'm Joan Stanford,
And I'm Jeff Stanford.
and we've been doing this for since
36 years.
1980. Yeah.
No,
Well, here we've been doing this since.
we've been working together in innkeeping for 36 years.
Let's get lost with no direction. 35 head south on Texas. Found a place where time.
So that's just a quick glimpse. We have more to share with you, but I just wanted you to have a quick glimpse of our beautiful, stunning location. And what I see mostly, and this is really what inspired me for these virtual retreats, is that we can learn so much, and so much of what we do with travel is the people we connect to. And of course, you may all know Joan and Jeff, and if you don't, we'll hear from them after the class as well. But it's really about the people, and that's why we keep going back to places. So it's really my goal, and the goal of the virtual retreats, that we get to connect with some of the most amazing and beautiful people behind the destinations that we're featuring. So with that said, Catherine, I am going to hand it over to you so that we can get started with our class. Our yoga class will go about 45, 50 minutes, up to 60 minutes, and then we'll transition into our explore.
Great. Good morning. How is the sound?
I'll give you a thumbs
Okay.
up.
Okay. So make yourself comfortable for a little bit of breath practice. You can stay exactly where you are, seated. You can lie down on your mat, and you can keep your eyes open or close your eyes and inhale deeply. Find the top of your breath and hold it just for a moment until you're ready to exhale, and then release your breath completely. And visualize the breath flowing out as you would a wave retreating from the shore. And then inhale again deeply and visualize a wave coming in, rolling up the sand. So I can't quite hear the ocean outside the window here, but I can sure feel it. So continue to breathe at your own pace, in and out, deeply and completely, and as smoothly as you can. And this is a wonderful pranayama, yogic breath practice. Simple and always available to you. And if you'd like to set an intention for your practice this morning or this evening, depending if you're in Northern California, among the redwood trees and near the seashore as I am, or in Athens, Greece, and it's evening, choose a focus for your practice that you can come back to, that will ground you, inspire you, serve you as you wish. And let's take another deep breath or two. Tension. And exhaling anything that you would like to spend some time releasing. Another breath, inhaling what supports your intention. Exhaling what's up for releasing. Good. And open your eyes. And let's make our way to all fours. Pad your knees if you'd like them to feel a little more softness under them. And we're going to take cat and cow pose, moving the spine, rolling up to cat back, tucking the chin. And moving to a sway back. So now you can begin to harness your breath again, inhaling deeply and completely and exhaling the same way as you move. And then you can place your mind's eye, your awareness to sensations arising as you move through cat and cow, flexing the spine and extending the spine from tailbone to crown of the head. And in doing this posture with breath and mindful awareness, you are practicing yoga, yoking mind, body, and spirit. As we practice the postures, let's stretch a leg back. I've got my left leg back. And let's grab the sticky mat with the toes. So the toes are down and we're stretching back. If your wrists are cranky, take your shoulders away from your wrists a little. If you want them stacked right over, do. And spread your toes and spread your fingers and push the mat away from you slightly, and then scoot the crown of your head forward and pull your belly up toward your back a little bit. And then change legs. And now let your head fall, and you can look back at your tucked toes, stretching back. Feel if your hips are level. Feel where your front hip points are. Good. And then downward facing dog when you're ready. Tuck all 10 toes back under and lift up. So remember to modify, especially if you're starting to move first thing this morning. And we're going to do a little moving, walking dog. I want you to even move your hands a little bit as you pedal the feet. And I would invite you to really let your head relax and even turn your chin from side to side. So here, if you'd like to stand on one foot and lift one leg up, do, and stretch. And if you want to stack your hips, if that feels good, do. If you want to drop your foot behind you, do. If you want to come up on those tippy toes and stretch way up, do. And remember, child's pose is always available, and lying on your back in corpse pose, always available. Let's change sides. Good, get ready. Stretching up. Remember, puppy's pose too. So stacking your hips if you want, dropping the knee behind you. And then coming back to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Shavasana. This is my Northern California Sanskrit. I'll throw that in every once in a while. Good, and then back to hands and knees, and now child's pose. So child's pose can be done with hands stacked as a resting place under the forehead, arms alongside of you, palms rolled up, or arms stretched out, extended arm child's pose. Even hands in prayer pose. And come back to your breath. And come back to your intention. And each time you exhale, let your hips sink down. Each time you exhale, let your brow relax and your head release down. And then come up again, and let's make our way to standing. Downward facing dog. Walking forward, Uttanasana, standing forward, fold. We don't want to hang in our back, so we want hands on the floor, or hands on blocks, or hands on the shins. And then we like to make our way to standing. Inhale and begin your journey up, and go slowly. You can round up, you can sweep up, Root your feet. Let's take the arms up and overhead, all the way, extending up, reaching, rooting the feet, reaching through the fingertips, and then float the hands to the heart. And bring your arms to your sides. And stand sideways on your mat. And let's practice standing forward fold, Prasarita, Parutanasana. Let's inhale and sweep the arms up, gathering in energy. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart. And the hands to the hips or to the waist, and begin to fold forward. Find a landing place for your hands. Adjust the stance. Feet maybe widening a little bit. And check your stance. Are your toes spread? Are your arches lifted? Are your legs actively engaged? And let's take a twist. Let's rest the weight on the left hand and take the right hand toward the back. You can look to your side, or you can keep your gaze straight down. And change sides, inhaling, bring your hand to the floor and take your other hand up into the back. Breathing. And with your hand on your back, with your awareness at the base of your spine, can you take the crown of your head and move it in the opposing direction? Long spine, inhale, come on down. We're going to take a side lunge. I'm not sure if you see me going right or left, so we both do both sides, so just go to one side. I'm going to my left, but maybe it looks like I'm going to my right. So remember, we are feeling sensations, experiencing what arises in our postures more than paying attention to what we should be doing. Let's be being in the poses, stretching. We're going to walk through center. So it's really important that you have as much support under your hands as you do under your feet. Stretch to the other side. Keep the toes spreading, feet really lively. Good, and now we're going to lunge, high lunge here. So we really rotate all the way so the toes face the top of the mat. The back toes are tucked under. I just handily grabbed my blocks. You can also be up on your thigh. You can raise your arms up. You can be lower. And then we're going to navigate our way back through center and to the other side, all the way to a high lunge. So we're swiveling, we're making these transitions, paying attention. Feel the back toes grab the mat. Feel the front toes spreading. Feel the low back, the space between pubic bone and navel. Enjoy your lunge, enjoy your breath. And come back to center. Prasarita, Parutanasana. Adjust your stance and enjoy your forward fold. I like to say that when life gets turned upside down, it's nice to go upside down. And things are certainly a little upside down right now, to say the least. Let's get ready to come up. Inhaling, make your journey up. You can bend your knees. You can walk your hands up your legs. You can sweep up if that's a more enjoyable way to come up. And then we're going to step the legs together and come to mountain pose. Tadasana. Tada. We root our feet. We feel that downward connection, and we extend the crown of the head. We reach the fingertips down and open the elbows, and we lift the belly, the sternum. This is the sternum, the heart. The chin is a funny thing. Where does it go? And then we lift the crown of the head. Good. And then relax mountain pose. Shake out your arms, feel your wrists. And let's take the first version of Arta Chandrasana and a wonderful side body stretch. Find your breath and inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Cranky shoulders can be accommodated by moving your arms forward and up. And you're going to take hold of one wrist. And you're going to root your feet down again. You're going to stretch all the way up to the sky and over to your side. And breathe up that whole side body from outside ankle, good, all the way to wrists, to fingertips. There's a little bit of a back bend actually going on here. So really feel your back body. Imagine you're doing this on the floor. And inhale, come to center. Soften your elbows. Change your hand holds. Inhale and go straight up. And then over to your side. So feel the energy in your legs and your lower body. Feel the energy mirrored then in your upper body. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, float your hands to your heart. And let's sit in fierce pose. Uttanasana, chair pose. So notice where your hips are. Notice where your knees are. Keep them where they are. Booty back, knees forward. And let's twist. Go to your right side. One hand on your low back, one hand on your legs or your lap, or hands in prayer pose, or one to the floor and one to the sky. Inhale, come to center, and change sides. Access your breath. Connect to sensations arising. Inhale, come to center, and exhale, rise up, sweeping up. And exhale, bring hands to heart and arms to your sides. Relax your stance and find a soft mountain pose. Eyes open or eyes closed. If you close your eyes, you're establishing a bit of a balance pose. Little challenge to your balance. Notice your breath. Recall your intention. And let's put breath, movement, and mindfulness together in a little bit of a flow. So we'll do just what we did, adding breath. And if the breath is confusing, drop it, but continue to breathe. So here we go. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale and sit. You're going to twist to your right or just follow me. The end of your exhale, you'll bring your belly towards your back, Uddiyana Bandha. Inhale, sweep forward. Exhale, press to standing. And here we go again. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, sit. Keep exhaling, exhaling, exhale. Twist to the other side. The end of the exhale, draw your belly to your back. Uddiyana Bandha. Inhale, sweep forward. Exhale, press to standing. And again, inhale, sweep up. Bit of a back bend. Exhale and sit. Uttanasana. Keep exhaling, twist to the side, the first side. Pull belly to back. Stretch the crown of your head away from tailbone. And inhale, sweep forward. Exhale, press to standing. Second side, second time. Inhale, stretch up, space between the vertebrae. Exhale, sit. Keep exhaling, keep exhaling. Twist to the second side and pull belly to back at breath's end. And inhale, sweep forward. Exhale to standing. And float hands to heart. Rest arms at your sides. Soften your stance. Close your eyes or gently rest them ahead of you. And breathe. Good. Open your eyes if they're closed. And open your stance again. And let's move through some warrior poses and side stretches. Wake up the legs. Wake up the arms. Create some space in our bodies. Let's turn the toes to the top of the mat. Right foot, left foot matters not. Good. And let's bend that knee and put it over the heel. And keep the hands down. Notice my hands are down. I'm focusing on the foundation of the pose. I'm rooting, right? I'm not up here. But again, as I invited you to feel the foundation of your pose. Good. Let's go into reverse warrior so we get a side body stretch, making space between the ribs. Feel where your ears are, what's comfortable for your neck. Energy in both of your arms is equally important to the energy in your legs. And from here, we'll go to side body stretch on the other side. Parsvo Kanasana, side angle pose. Everything is a-okay. You can make this wonderful mudra. The shape we make with gestures and hands elicits a certain feeling. Good. Top arm comes down in front of your face, back behind you, and up we come. Both legs are straight again. And we'll take reverse triangle, Trichanasana. Up you go. Stretching back. Checking that you're breathing. You can deepen your breath and change the energy of your practice. You can soften your breath and change the energy of your practice. Arms come back, parallel to the floor. Shoulders drop away from the ears. Check your feet, ungrip your toes, roll your wrists. Trichanasana. Inhale, reach forward. Good. And stretch up. So I invite you here to consider coming up a little bit higher than you normally do in Trichanasana, taking the back of your hand to the inside edge of your leg, and then feeling where the back of your head is in space, and trying less to do and more to enjoy and to feel good. Inhale, come on up. Exhale all the way as you bring your arms down and turn your feet forward. Good. Let's narrow the stance a little bit and take a squat. Good. A little shift. And again, I'm using my upper body here. Good. And then inhale up and out of your squat. And let's take the second side. Ocean, see through my eyes for all of you, this beautiful sea here. Let's bend the knee. Feel your foundation. Wake up your feet. Feel the toes, feel the centers of both heels. And let's take reverse warrior. So the top of the inhalation allows you to really stretch from that nice deep crease in the front of your hip there, all the way up and back. Good. Use your breath. Inhale deeply and exhale. Side angle pose, Parsvo Kanasana. Good. Forearm to the thigh, hand to the thigh, bind if you want to. levitate if you want to. Everything is a-okay. Breathing. Can you feel the muscles around your knees? Are your toes still spacious and alive? Good. Sweep the top arm down in front of your face. Sweep back behind you. Up you come. Yeah. Reverse triangle. Stretch up and back. Good. Inhale and bring your arms parallel to the floor and way away from each other. You're like a star here. Points of your stars, your fingers, your toes, tailbone, crown of the head. Trichanasana. Inhale deeply. Exhale and reach. Stay a little higher this time. Bring a little more energy into the upper portion of the pose. Try taking the back of your hand against your leg where it comes. Try feeling the back of your top hand, the back of your head. Good. And inhale, bring yourself up. Exhale, hands float down. Toes turn forward, heel toe together, and return to mountain pose. Eyes closed or eyes open. Feel the connection your legs make when they come back to midline and center. Come back to your center, to your intention. The sensations arising. Good, and let's play with some balance poses. So really think of flow, of movement. What makes you think of movement? Birds, the ocean, waterfalls. I want you to think about that and practice balance poses with me in a new way today, which is more like a flow. So let's think of the beautiful California redwood tree and take tree pose. So stand on the leg that wants to support you and put your other foot against it and bring hands to heart and grow deep roots. And then change sides. Foot to the floor, other leg opens, Vrikshasana, tree pose, foot to leg. And then to the other side, foot to leg. And then to the other side, foot to leg. So here, if you'd like, grow branches, arms coming up overhead. Remember, you can always put your foot down. You can keep your foot up. Are you breathing? You can roll your wrists. Let's change sides. Hands to heart, foot to floor. Good. Foot to leg. So can you feel the connection between the foot and the leg and the hands? Okay, once you're rooting, if you'd like, grow branches. Feel the spaces between your ribs, tailbone dropping, crown of the head extending. Good, inhale, reach, reach, reach way up. Exhale, bring hands to heart. Foot to floor, arms alongside. Good. So I invited you to use a wall if you have it, a door, anything. Let's do dancer's pose with the hand to a wall. Here we go, Nadaranjasana. Stand on the leg that wants to support you. Ready to grab the other leg, and we don't want anything cramping up, so give your hips some time. Let's take hold of that leg and get the quadriceps nice and stretched, and then start to stretch back. So I want you to feel in this pose sensations arising rather than thinking about what the pose is supposed to look like or be done. How the pose is supposed to be done. Be the pose rather than do the pose. And let's breathe and exit. And change sides. Change sides with a little shifting from foot to foot until the next leg is ready to support you. So take some time getting the hip warmed up, the knee warmed up, the hand supporting you there, and take hold of that foot. Good. So here, if we just let the knee drop down directly from the hip before we start to stretch into the pose, we can feel the quadriceps a lot. Good. And now you can start to kick that leg back and feel where the crown of your head is. Feel where the back of your head is. Feel sensations in your front body. Feel the toes on both feet. And then get ready to release. Leg coming down. Foot to floor. And Tadasana again. Rooting through your feet, extending your arms. Lifting the heart center, collarbones broad and shoulders dropping away from your ears. Throat soft. Gaze turned inward. So in off-balance times, balance poses are wonderful for maintaining our sense of humor and helping us find our personal balance. So let's work with one more standing balance pose, half moon pose, Arta Chandrasana. Again, I invite you to come to a wall, to use a chair, to use blocks. You don't even need to bring your mat with you if you don't want to. Make friends with your wall, and if you're on your mat and you're not using a wall, you can just imagine there's a wall there. Up we go. We're on the standing leg. We're paying attention to our foundation. We're paying attention to the position of our head. Lots of ways to stay steady. Then we're reaching the top arm up perhaps. And I encourage you, rather than looking up to the ceiling, to look straight across the space you're in, or even to keep your gaze down toward the floor and breathe. And feel. Where is your awareness in this pose? Beautiful. Okay, soft bend your knee to come down. The journey in and out of poses is as important as the pose itself. Turn your feet forward. Rest for a moment in mountain pose so we recollect ourselves. We feel the sensations of practicing that pose. And we want to really integrate them, soak them up before rushing on to the next side or the next pose. So bring your props over to your other side. Get ready, feeling support behind you, or imagine support behind you. And get ready to come up, keeping that front leg soft. Hand comes down. Find your point of connection. Find the nice position for your head. Notice my hand is still on my hip because I am focused on getting this foundation, this rooting sensation in place, right? It's a sensation before I start to stretch up. And then breathe. And breathe some more, deeply and completely. To come down, soft bend your knee. Take your time. Come up mindfully using breath. And center in mountain pose. So the body and the mind loves repetition. So let's go to the first side for a second time. Orient yourself against the wall. Props available. Soft bend the forward knee, the supporting leg, and up you come. What feels different this time? What feels similar? Can you deepen your breath? Can you heighten your awareness of sensation, of experience in this pose? Can you be with your intention in this pose? Can you breathe into wrists and ankles? Use your breath, soft bend your supporting knee, sweep down. Let's take Uttanasana, standing forward fold. And then inhale and rise up. And grab your props, take them with you to the second side. And here we go. Breathe and stretch. Feel and notice. Soft jaw, soft tongue. Inhale deeply. Exhale, soft knee brings you down. Standing forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up. Tadasana with arms overhead. Big, long, full body stretch, creating space. So do this every day. Put the boxes of tea or Q-tips way up high on a shelf so you have to reach for them every day like this to extend your body. Good. And bring hands to heart. Okay. Come on down to your mat. Lie down on your back. Some support under your head if need be. Feet on your mat. Arms resting at your sides. And gentle lift of the pelvis. Little bridge pose. If you want to go all the way up into a humdinger bridge pose, scoot the shoulder blades together, interlace the fingers underneath you or hold your mat, energize the arms and lift. Good. Then lower. Take a little happy baby pose. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Let's take ecstatic baby pose, shaking, shaking, shaking. Let's roll again in happy baby pose. And stretch the legs. So just like you did standing, Prasarita, Parutanasana, big wide open stance. Letting the energy of the feet and the legs back flush. And then put your feet back down and let's take butterfly leg pose, Supta Baddha Kanasana, opening the hips. If you need support, support with your hands. If you want more release, release more with your hands and sweep your arms overhead if you wish. And bring hands to heart. And close the knees. And let's take windshield wiper pose, wide open stance. Legs fall to one side. Sweep the arms overhead if that feels good. Stretching, keep the ankles bright and awake. Inhale, take the legs center. Exhale to the other side. Arms can be very soft and restful or stretched up. Good. Inhale, bring the legs to center. And let's take a gentle, gentle twist. Lift your hips up. Roll to one side, one leg straight, one leg bent. Very, very respectful of your back. If you prefer to have both legs bent, do. So modify, make this twist really work for you. If your shoulder's cranky, keep your hand on your hip. If you'd like to stretch both arms out, do. Inhale and untwist. Good. Shift your hips and let's twist to the other side. Rolling over. Breathing. Head is in neutral position, really comfortable with your neck. And inhaling to center. Good. Take a full body stretch. Reintroduce beautiful alignment in your spine. Bring hands to heart. Arms down alongside. Arms relaxed. Legs releasing away from each other. Legs relaxed. Shavasana. Final relaxation pose. Perhaps the most important of all postures practiced. Find your breath. Inhale deeply and completely and allow your eyes to close. And we'll do a very brief guided relaxation. Bring your awareness to the center of your brow. Let your breath go. From the center of your brow, bring your awareness to the tip of your nose, to the tip of your chin, to your sternum, to your navel, and to your pubic bone. Expand your awareness and feel your whole body supported by the floor, deeply and completely relaxed. Reconnect with your breath, inhaling deeply, feeling your breath in your fingers and toes and roots of your hair and tip of your nose. Feeling how your whole practice is in your body. You've embodied your practice. Seal it in. Take it with you into your day, your evening, the days ahead. Roll to your side and come to seated. If you're comfortable on your back, stay on your back. And let's bring hands to heart. Feel the connection between the palms of your hands, this gesture of union right here in connection called Angeli Mudra. Let's share a blessing. May we always bless everyone. May we always benefit everyone. May we always ease everyone's burden. And may we never cease to hold everyone dear and include yourself in everyone. And I thank you for practicing today. Blessings.
Thank you so much, Catherine. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
So nice. So
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone's just kind of starting to get back to their seat and waking up and hopefully imagining that we were all there at Stanford Inn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Cass. How's everyone feeling?
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
If you're not already looking at the gallery view, you might want to chime in on that gallery view just to see all of the other people that we're connected with all around the world. Thank you, Catherine. And I don't want to embarrass you, Catherine, but you were. It was your first virtual class, I understand, and you were amazing. You were so amazing. Thank you. So it was Catherine. Catherine's been teaching for a very long time, but it was her first virtual class. So I think it was a really beautiful practice. So as we transition, if you need to grab some water, just get back on to your seat. We're going to transition in from Jeff and Joan Stanford. And it's my first time having the opportunity to properly meet them. So you guys probably know them a whole lot more than me. But what I do know is that what we learned in our first part of our video too, is that they have been innkeeping now for more than 40 years together. But it sounds like 2020, this year, on this kind of strange year that we're all going through, they're celebrating their 40th anniversary of Stanford Inn. So I hope that I'm saying that right. But I think that is just so remarkable, and not just that you've put together a beautiful community of people who have probably been visiting you for many, many years, but also that you together as a unit and couple have been doing this together for so many years. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeff and Joan Stanford.
Hi.
Hi.
Glad to be here.
So nice to
Can you
meet
hear us okay?
Hello, nice to see you. It looks beautiful there.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we can see you real well.
Great. Well, Joan's our spokesperson today.
No, I'm not, but we're just really happy to be here. It's a little bit foggy on the coast, but that's part of the...
It'll be like 90 degrees inland, but right here it's probably about 55.
Yeah.
It looks like you have a little fog that's come through.
Yes, we got a lot of fog. There's not a breath of air. It's just fog, and we're in a cloud right now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But it looks like such a beautiful, expansive view. And I do have, I think what we'd love to hear from you both is a little bit of your story and your journey on creating Stanford Inn. And I can kind of assume some of those, inspirations of what really inspired you to create such a beautiful place to connect. But I would love to hear some of that. And I do also have that we can play a 2-minute clip from one of your videos that will show people some of that expansive views and beautiful property that you have. So you just let me know when you'd like me to chime in with that.
That would be a good idea now. It'll inspire us to know how to direct this conversation.
Oh, perfect.
On our side.
Ask you some questions as well, but I will play this part of the video. Just give me a moment. So they have this beautiful video, and there's several parts of it. So I'm going to start right from here.
I said,
Whoops. Okay, let me just share my screen. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, share screen. Okay, share. Can we all see that?
baby, what I realized, where you are is where I belong. It's where I belong. I wanna be with you when the sun goes down.
Is that Raina?
I wanna be with you when the lights go out. Yeah, there's so much here that's brought us down. I'd leave it all for this crazy little love we found. Yeah, yeah. You got to shake what God gave you. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a cowboy.
Know that they're coming here for change.
Yeah.
And something happens, some epiphany happens.
Come on, Paul. Show them what you're working.
Things are different. Where we are.
But the environment is here, and if somebody's open or ready for change, it starts here.
Is where I belong.
One of our packages is called Falling in Love with Life Again. And that's what we want people to feel.
Oh, that's fun to see that.
It is, right? And so what I can see right away, the passion and the love that you have for what you've created. So I would first love to know what really inspired you to create this Stanford Inn, 40 years ago. What was that like for you?
Well, we
She looks at me.
Jeff and I both wanted to have this sort of alternative lifestyle that allowed us to live and work and integrate, family, work, our values, spirituality, creativity, and also do something that felt coherent with helping the world become a better place. That was kind of our, where we started. And Jeff talked about the farm, the model of a farm where the kids work, they're part of the process of the job. I mean, they have a real value, and you're on the land and you're connected. So that was kind of what started our looking. I think once we accidentally got into the business, but once we started looking to create a place, that was the focus and the intention. And then we wanted people to feel not just that they were staying in a place that was lovely and that they had a nice, comfortable bed, but that they were kind of awakened to different things to enjoy about life. And take it away, Jeff. He can say more about this, but like we said in that little clip, we really wanted people to fall in love with life.
Yeah, she said Catherine was a little nervous, and she.
I'm not quite sure what that was, but it sounded like Sid.
I just muted them. If anybody is not muted, you might want, if you have some background noise, you might want to mute. But that's okay.
So basically, basically what happened is she was a sociologist at the time. I was an anthropologist. I had been. Weren't jobs, so we moved to the West Coast, got into innkeeping strictly as something to do to make some money, and didn't really like it. But we saw the opportunity. We were in Carmel, which was a hippie place at that time, but we saw an opportunity to create something that was for a lifestyle that made sense, that integrated into a community. And there was no way we could stay in Carmel. We didn't have that kind of money, but we had been to Mendocino visiting friends and decided that this would be, because it was a small community, it wasn't so high economically as Carmel. So we came up here and found this place with the idea of running it as a farm. And it turned out that it was an historic farm, and the people that owned it sold it to us with loaning us the down payment, a good portion of it, because we had so little money. It was the right place for us to be. And
right away, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but right away, things happened that sort of confirmed that, not to be too woo-woo, but we really wished we'd had a better ocean view. And that very first winter, there were tremendous rains, and cypresses have, shallow roots, and it washed out, and the trees just fell over. Huge trees fell over. And it was like, we asked for an ocean view, and the land gave us an ocean view. And things like that, kind of magical things happened.
Well, it was mostly what was happening to the guests.
Yeah, and guests would tell us things that happened to them too. So it was like we started to get this energetic hit from what we were doing. And we were pregnant at the time we came. So
I wasn't.
Well, we had our first baby. We came in September. We had Alex in March, and then within 2 years we'd had Kate. And we were living in a little motel room, and we'd taken over an adjacent one. So we were really in the belly of the beast, sort of. There was a total envelopment with what we were doing. And then the rest of it, as time went on, different people connected with us with some passion of theirs, like a massage person came and wanted to do in-room massage, which was a novelty at that time. And yoga happened when a person, wasn't Catherine, but
Catherine's first teacher.
Yeah, Catherine's first teacher was doing it somewhere else and could no longer do it. And we had put in a pool in a greenhouse at that point. And she did the yoga around the pool on that apron part of the pool because it allowed the space. So that became the beginning of yoga at the inn. And then eventually when we expanded, we could have a wellness center. And we met Sid, of course, who you're going to be talking to, and he heads up the wellness center for us. But we offer different classes: nutrition, cooking, creativity, which is my area. It came together sort of organically, and the gardens were a solution to a landscaping issue. And now we have these beautiful organic gardens that you saw in the video. It's fun to see the video because some of those people are no longer here, but they're still very connected.
Well, they're pretty much still very much here, except one. All of them are connected, and they work with us still today. Jamie, true. And Dana, and so on. And we got a chance I hadn't seen the video in several years. So it was very nice to see that.
Makes us feel like really good.
That little blonde-haired girl is Sid's daughter, and she's tall now. So it was good to see.
Yeah.
What Joan said, of course, is true. But our take on this is that talk about organic. We really want the people that stay here, or walk through here, or go on our boats down. We have boats at the mouth of the river, where Big River meets the Mendocino Bay, and that go out and experience nature. We really want this to be soft. We're not here having Sid or myself lecture about how to do things, or have Catherine say this, be militant. If you want to take a yoga class, fine. We don't really find that packages that offer that stuff as inclusive are as effective as when people get curious and just try it. It's so much better. It's so cool. Joan does these things called creative play shops. And I watch the people going in there, and they look a little tense. They look like they just got off the road, even if it's the second day. And they go in there and have this experience with her, and 2.5 hours, and they do art. I mean, Joan isn't really creating the experience. They create their own experience. She just creates the Montessori teacher, creates the space for this to happen. And they go there, they enjoy themselves. They come out and they look 100% better. They have changed. They are relaxed, and they're experiencing themselves in a way they probably forgotten they could experience themselves. That's the kind of softness that I mean. We just want it to be happening here when people discover that the food that we serve has virtually no oil in many of the dishes, and is healthy for them, yet has all the flavors and depth that they're used to at a fancy restaurant in the city. We really enjoy that transformation, and we'll get these letters like, I thought I was going to not be able to eat anything, that kind of thing. And I ate this, and now I need to know how to cook it, and so on. We just want it to be as organic as possible.
Wow. Well, you said so many amazing things there. I was actually just taking a few notes. But one thing that stood out to me is that the process for you, I think, Joan, you said all things were aligning. And I think when you really have your heart and your soul and your passion behind something, all things do align. And you had young children and maybe not so much money, and how are we going to do this? And then so you see these two people in their journey, and 40 years later, this community that appears to be an international community that you have touched in so many ways. So that to me is just a huge inspiration. I have a question. So you said, maybe, I think it was Jeff, you said in the video actually that people come here and they transform. What do you mean by that? How do you see that people transform? And then maybe somebody, a guest who has been there, can also share if they have that same experience.
Oh, okay. So first caveat is we don't want people to come here expecting to have some kind of epiphany or transformation or transcendent experience. And they tend to be transcendent, to be kind of washes over the top of all those things. And but if they have the expectation, it's not going to go so well, probably, because they're feeding it, and it doesn't manifest as they'd like. It could be scary. I'm a spiritual counselor, so I'm really careful with these things, with expectations. On the other hand, the stories that we have had from our guests are just amazing. And they started right away. So we know that we never have anything to do with it. It is their relationship to whatever energy is on this land, and maybe beings that are on this land that are here to, my feeling is they're here to ennoble and to, just make people feel whole again. And that experience happens here, and it happens in some really unusual ways of visions, actually. No drugs. I'm not into drugs at all, but no drugs or anything like that. They just come and they lay down on their bed, and then something happens. We've heard some great stories, but we want everybody to have their own stories and let those, become something in their lives that's also organic, just like the farming we do here. We started farming 5 years after we got here, so we've been doing it for 35 years. It's all organic, and now we have an international training garden here, training people in small scale farming so that you can grow more food than you ever thought possible with the least amount of water, and without actually any organic or otherwise chemical fertilizers, by building your own soils. Yeah. That's just another aspect of what we do here. So we want it to be a wondrous place that people at different levels can get into it. And we have really high-speed internet to help people that are more on the technological bent on things. We've got fiber coming in here. So,
but can I add one thing?
No, no, of course not.
You finish your sentence, but I did want to add one thing.
No, you can add. Go ahead.
Okay. Well.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, Mark. Thank you. Hi, Mark. Yeah. What I was just going to add was that I think when people go on vacation And if they just can truly like vacate, kind of drop and empty all the stuff that they bring with them, the quote baggage, you know, things will happen. You'll have time to think about certain things that you may not have had any time to think about, and feel things and reconnect to nature, to your loved ones, to your own inner promptings, you know, which is what I hope happens when we do the play shop. But you have to have that ability, like Catherine, was having people relax and stretch, and what yoga does for the body. You know, you have to allow that for your mind. I mean, I know it does it for the mind too, but when you're on a vacation, that's the prime time to have things. So when you talk about transformation, and Jeff's quite right, I don't think you can expect it, but it's almost like if you just relax and slow down and appreciate, and start to feel what needs to be felt, whatever it is. And sometimes transitions that are hard, like a couple may come here and decide, we really need to end this relationship. And other people come here and decide we really need to move forward, or they suddenly get pregnant and they've been trying. I mean, those are the kinds of stories we hear. So when Jeff it says that, and then there's other stories too about they actually changed their whole lifestyle in some respect, and made tough decisions in terms of it wasn't all about the money if they couldn't have the life or the time they wanted. So those kinds of things happen all over the world, but we hear about some of them.
The healing,
the holing, yes,
the
yes.
healing and the holing, she calls it.
Yeah.
And those are good terms, because it really happens here, from dogs to people.
And we're so compartmentalized in our lives. I mean, we have to be, and Jeff and I have the luxury that we live in an integrated bubble here. And, so our values, we can, as our interests expanded and as other people came into our lives, that could kind of filter into the inn in some respects. And so I think having that attitude and having that investment in it, and from that perspective, creates a little bit of the experience as well, because we live here. We're right on the property. It isn't in some remote location that we don't have to see and interact with all the time.
And we want to hear the story. So our job, and it's not an easy job, it really isn't an easy job, but we're still doing it. We're trying to clear up the garbage in a way, the stuff that distracts. It's mostly conceptual, but that distracts people, so that they can kind of attend to it and let things happen to themselves here. And it's really interesting who doesn't come here. I mean, like I have friends from high school that got in contact with me, and colleges and stuff like that. And some of them, they come and they bounce here and they look at it and they say, wow, you walk the talk, and then they never see him again. No, it's intimidating, but I want to tell you, it's joyful and it's extremely easy to do. Just do it, Don't think about it. Don't worry about what's going to go or change in the life that you're walking from. We're always moving forward. That's the nature of it. Just worry about that movement. Just let that movement go. And then I see people that I never expected to get it and go. And we can't talk about it. This is the most that we've talked about it in ages. You just want to let these things mature and go.
Yeah, we've probably talked enough.
I love that. Well, we have so many, I think we have a lot of your guests here. We have a lot of your prior guests. Is there anyone who would like to share their personal experience, maybe the first time that they came to Stanford Inn? If you'd like to, you can unmute your microphone. I think Mark had just shared something briefly, or anyone else.
I could. This is Mary Zappone, and my husband and I went there, I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago. My daughter actually was at Stanford University, and we were visiting her, and we ended up learning about the Stanford Inn, which I know they're unrelated, but it was just fun for us. So we had dropped her at school. I think maybe it was the parents' weekend, or we dropped her, and my husband and I and my brother all went and really enjoyed our time there. And we took my husband was vegan, and we took vegan cooking classes. And of course we ate at the wonderful restaurant, but we just had a grand time. So I highly recommend it to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have an association with Stanford, besides the accident of the
Okay, I
name.
didn't know.
our daughter went to Stanford University. She's a graduate, and our son was one of two people that worked for the university to redo the stadium back
when they built the new stadium at Stanford
13
so
years
we have a little
ago.
connection there.
So we have a little connection. I haven't been down there though for years.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mark, would you like to share your story?
Oh, sure. I have so many stories about the Stanford Inn. I'm fortunate to live about 2 hours away from Mendocino, and my wife and I try to get up to the Stanford Inn at least once a year. And it is just such a spiritual experience to be in an environment that is so life affirming and is so welcoming to everyone, including animals, right there in the inn. And I have to say that Joan and Jeff are two of the most down-to-earth people I have ever met, and they're always around to say hello, and they don't act like they're big shots or anything. They're just really people who walk the talk and have created a very spiritual, welcoming, enchanting environment. And my wife and I are going to be up there next month, and we can't wait.
Oh, great.
I knew that. Did you not?
Yeah,
know
no,
that?
I knew that too. We're looking forward to seeing you both.
I love that.
Thank you.
And I think what I
Thank
hear
you.
is that, you both are truly the light. You're both the inspiration, and that really keeps that everyone, I can see it on their faces here. If they haven't been, they want to go. I want to go.
We want everyone to come. I'm so sorry people can't experience it right now. At least, this is virtual, but it's sad, that people can't come, and I mean, we're open, but we wish you could all be here. I just wanted to say one thing, and then we probably are done, but a lot of people look at the inn or look at us and think, wow, what a vision you had and everything. But I think what we're trying to say is we didn't. We started out with virtually not a vision, or a very different vision in a way, I think, if we did have one. And then things just happened as life does. And so I always want people to trust their intuition and trust what's pulling at them, what's pulling them towards something, or what's kind of creating resistance to something else. And, honor that, because you will find what feeds your soul. I do believe that. I feel so lucky that we ended up here, and it's all kind of touch wood,
It's over here.
working out the way it is. So I just don't want people to think it's some big grandiose thing that's out of reach,
No, this was a Redwood Lodge, but basically a motel that we just kind of converted it. We did convert it with the idea of just making it more organic. I don't want to use that word too much, but we paneled the rooms in pine as opposed to redwood, because bugs don't want to live in redwood, but they want to live in pine. So we put something there that bugs want to live in, figuring that if a bug wants to live in it, it's probably good for us too. And
I don't know if that's what you want to be saying.
well, it's pretty good. We use redwood for trim to just like the forest. It's part of an ecosystem, but we don't completely focus on it. If you have high expectations of a place, it's not going to deliver, because you're not going to deliver. It's really all you anyway.
Yeah.
And everything that happened here, there was no vision at all, except the vision of that small farm.
Yeah.
Of growing with your kids growing and plants growing, and just a pleasant place to be, with more sun than we have on the coast.
Although it has been really beautiful. And I also want to add one other thing. When you said we've had tremendous help from the people that have been the staff and people that contribute. It is us in one way, but it's totally the whole staff. And we couldn't obviously do any of it without key people. And we're very, very grateful that they've come to us too.
As a matter of fact, there'd be no yoga program if it hadn't been
for Catherine.
No, Catherine followed it, but if another person hadn't been here, living in this community and wanting to, move her life forward. She's now in Santa Barbara. but she came here, created the position. If this crazy Thai woman who had just gotten her master's degree in Ohio or someplace like that in sociology, just hadn't decided that she really wanted to do massage. And so she came here because she liked the coast and came to us and said, I have a crazy idea. How would you like me to do massage in your rooms? And
I told her that.
I know you told her, but we'd never heard of doing that before. Massage was nothing in 1990s. This was this was 1990, so it was 30 years ago. She came with this idea and we said, why not give it a try? And then we found out later what can happen with that when it was funny. But we have a whole program now, and we're probably the first bed and breakfast inn with a massage studio and yoga in the country, and we are the only vegan one in the country. And we're of course full on resort now. And if you ever get a chance, any of those who've not been here, go out in the canoes, these redwood outrigger canoes. It is an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I'm saying that because we can't meet the demand now because of COVID restrictions. But people line up to go there, and we got to have them line up at their hotels or wherever they're staying here, because we can only let them in one at a time.
Well, I think earlier on, Joan, you mentioned, and you've been reiterating, I think, that you've really created the space and that other people come and it comes from them and it comes from your guests and it comes from their intention. So that's what I hear. And I think that it's the space, and then it's the activities that help support their journey and whatever needs to come from that. And I think right now, given this 2020 year that we're all experiencing in all different ways, you know, wellness is really at the top, I think, of what people have realized that they need to prioritize. So if you haven't yet traveled, or, you know, if you're local, of course, maybe you can visit Stanford Inn, or when you are ready to travel again, or maybe lots of people are making domestic trips. It sounds like this is really a place to nourish your soul and your mind, and just kind of come out of this 2020, hopefully renewed in some way. So I thank you for sharing that story. It's really beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one other thing, we have a bookstore that really has some great titles in it, and we don't even care if people buy the books. We should put up a list of books on the website so that people can order them from wherever they want to get them. Go to your local bookstore if you can. Because there's a lot of inspiring work that's been done, including a book by Mark Hawthorne. Just to say vegan ethics, just to put one out there.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dawn.
Yeah, thank you. That was really great. So we're going to transition, and hopefully you all will probably end up being about another 45 minutes, maybe up to an hour, but we're going to transition and hear from Sid Hillman, who has also been with Stanford Inn for quite some time now. And he is a nutritionist and a health coach, and he really has so much wisdom to share from a healthy lifestyle and healthy living. And if you hadn't picked up already, Stanford Inn has a plant-based restaurant. So I think we'll hear a little bit about that and what to expect. So Sid, if you'd like to unmute your microphone and introduce yourself, welcome.
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Good. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us, and thanks to Jeff and Joan. And I've been here for about 14 years. And I love working here, and Joan and Jeff have been, you know, I just feel like part of the family. I don't know if they would agree with that, but I feel like part of the family, and they've been very supportive of my work and the work that I do, because we're all like-minded. And so my main job here is wellness programs director, and then Jeff is the executive chef of the restaurant, and I work with him to craft the menus and do all those kinds of things. And so we're keeping busy. I also teach nutrition classes, and right now teaching cooking classes. Sometimes we have another cooking instructor, but right now I'm the guy, and we're doing them socially distanced and very safe and very separated. But so it's like a demonstration only kind of cooking class, but it's been working really well. And frankly, just having people be able to do it is fun. I think we all realized how much we were missing interactions with guests. And when we reopened, it was such a nice thing to have people around again. Even if we have to do it this way, then that's fine, but it's better than nothing for sure. So yeah, I've written a couple books, and I direct a all vegan ultra marathon. It sells out every year. It's only one of 2 all vegan ultras in the whole country, and the Stanford Inn is a founding sponsor, and Ravens, the restaurant here, provides all the food for the runners and guests, anybody. We feed everybody. And so it's brings people in from 18 states and all over the world, UK and Japan the year before. So it's been cool. We're doing really good work here, and I just feel honored to be part of it, and that I get to have this opportunity to work here and be here with my family. So that's my intro.
Now, if you are not familiar with an ultra marathon, Sid, how many miles is an ultra marathon?
Well, technically an ultra is anything over a marathon. So my particular run is a 50K, which is 31.4 miles. Technically my run is a little longer than that. It's about 34 miles, all trail, mostly trails, about 5,000 feet of elevation. And it's a great run. And it's such a, I cap it every year at 150 runners. I will let no more than that in, even though I have a waiting list of 100 last year, because it's just this intimate, it's just such it's an extension of the Stanford Inn, essentially. We're a great place to come and visit. We happen to be plant-based vegan for ethical and environmental reasons, but it's not really like an in-your-face thing. It's just that we want to create a great experience, and my race is an offshoot of that. And so that's why it's so popular. And I've done zero promotion for it. It's just word of mouth every year. I've got people, last year's race sold out in the first 25 minutes. And it's just kind of a cool thing. So it's all part of this whole picture about what we're trying to be here.
Love that. So Sid, I have 2 short video clips to support your session here. So just let me know when you would like me to chime them in.
Rock and roll with it, and then I'll do my little workshop.
Okay, great. So first I'm going to show you a short 1-minute clip so we can get into the garden, because I think that's a really large part of how they support, a plant-based restaurant is within this garden. So I think I'm at the right spot here. Hopefully I have it correct. Give me a moment. I'll get this shared. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, let me just get to the
Get lost, sort of manifest.
Okay.
Things about this garden that I think are especially wonderful and that have kept me here for 20.
Can you see that okay or no?
Yeah.
Is it frozen on your end?
Yes, it's frozen.
It's frozen. Okay, I thought it was. So I just I could see it frozen here. Okay, let's just make sure this is working. I apologize.
Are really the relationships in the gardens. There's a lot of love in the garden. We've had a lot of fun creating this garden, and I think that really comes through for people. I think people feel it when they're walking through the garden. I think they feel it when they're eating the vegetables and the herbs that we grow in the garden that are served at Ravens. And I think that they feel it when they see the hummingbirds and the bees and the butterflies and all the beings that we've taken great care to invite into this garden. There's a lot of wonderful moments that happen when you consciously build a relationship with the environment that you're involved with. And I think that's what makes this piece of property really special and makes it shine for people, including me.
And of course we get to see the dog there. And just so while we're here, I'm going to show you one more small bit.
Brought us down. I leave it all for this crazy little love we found.
Hi, my name is Sally Owens, and I am the creative director and head chef here at the Ravens restaurant in Mendocino, California. Here at the Ravens, we focus mainly on high-quality, organic, wonderful cuisine. And today we are in our beautiful garden, and we've just picked some beautiful greens, and we use most of what we grow here in our garden for our wonderful dishes that we serve, and try to be inventive and creative. Being a vegan restaurant, it's really important that we come up with all sorts of alternative ideas, and having a garden like this is just so wonderful because it gives us such amazing ingredients and freshness to work with, which we love.
The mission.
Okay. So since we have Sid here live, we won't play that for you. So over to you, Sid.
Thanks, and don't pretend that I don't rock that cowboy hat, Dawn.
I love that picture of you.
Those are the little kids in that video are my twins, and they're so much older now. They're 11, so I was looking at them getting all nostalgic. Anyway, so do you want me to begin the little talk I'm going to give? And if so, can I share my screen?
Yes, let me just make sure I have you here as co-host. Okay. And
okay, cool.
So you're welcome to chime in on the chat, but then we'll have some time for connection too. But if you have questions as Sid's going along, feel free to chime in.
And feel free to interrupt me, Dawn, if you see questions come in, I'm happy to do that. So multiple can share one participant. How do I share my, just click, okay, here, I got it. Okay, cool. So let me know if people can see that.
Yep, we can see it.
Probably doesn't look, I don't know if I can go full screen on it, but anyway, that gives you a certain idea. So let me give you a little bit of background. What we do here at the Inn and what we really teach is, and this plays into even my own approach to nutrition and healthy living. And what I call this talk is nutrition and healthy living, because oftentimes people, I'm finding as I'm speaking around the country, a more intense focus on nutrition than I think needs to happen, and that healthy living is really a broad picture. That's why the work that Joan does is so important in the creative realm. Jeff with meditation, Catherine with yoga, even gardening. All the things that we teach here is because we see it as a broad picture of how to live well. Now, I'm a certified nutritionist, so I do teach people nutrition, but almost in a way to do two things. One is to really present it as simply as it actually is, because it's not that complicated. It's made to be overcomplicated, I think, and a lot of that has to do with economics. But two, to equip people with the tools to continue living better when they leave here, and to be able to create long-term healthy habits. A lot of people that walk in our doors, even for my classes, have a pretty good knowledge of nutrition, but they're not living it. And that's our challenge here at the Inn, is even with the cooking classes, we're trying to teach people usable, actionable things that they can then leave with and incorporate, so they can create the long-term habits that actually give you the benefit of eating a really good diet most of the time. And I say most of the time because I'm very afraid of creating, or at least help. I don't want people to become militant or rigid about food based on what they've learned from me. So oftentimes I'll teach people, like, before I talk about nutrition, number one, I'm like, listen, I'm going to teach you some stuff here, but that doesn't mean you have to be super militant about food when you leave here, that you have to go home and take everything out of your cupboards and make your change overnight. Most of the work I do is I call myself the small step advocate, and I run a small steppers program, which is to help people incorporate long-term habits based on what you know. And sometimes people sort of shove you knowledge and go, good luck with it. And people either feel guilty if they're not using it, or they don't know how to use it long-term. So everything I teach is also married to an implementation program, so that people can keep their stress down when they're learning how to use this. So with that said, my first slide here, if you can see it, says bodies and minds under stress. What we're seeing, I mean, this is like a perfect time for this workshop. And I do want to thank Dawn, because we've been going back and forth for about, I feel like we're old friends now. Just like 4 years of like email exchanges anyways. So here we are in this pandemic, and this is a very stressful time. I don't think anybody can deny that. And my approach is to help people minimize stress. And because healthy living is about maintaining an optimal stress level. Too much stress, we don't do well. Too little stress, we don't do well. People often think no stress is the best. It's not. A little bit of stress, it's what I and others call adaptive stress. It's a place that you can put your mind and body where you're growing and evolving, and you're taking knowledge and you're learning. Even in the running world, as I'm a running coach, slowing people down so that it gives their bodies and minds a chance to catch up. That's really what is going to create long-term health and happiness for everybody, including me, is to keep our stress levels manageable. There's going to be peaks, of course, but overall, if you can keep things at a kind of a manageable level, you're going to be doing phenomenally well. Now, food is my biggest factor. It's not the only factor. In my first book, only one chapter is on food, and the rest it's called Approaching the Natural. The rest is about a mindset. It's very much incorporated with the work that we do here at the Inn and conversations I had with Jeff and Joan even before I started writing the book, which is approaching the natural to bring in by degrees things that are natural to us as a species, the way that we eat, the way that we socialize. Now, of course, with the pandemic, we're all virtual, but it's better than nothing. The way we socialize, the way we create, the way we move our bodies, to do that more naturally in a way that helps us be vibrant and joyful, as Jeff was saying. So that's my little preamble there. The next slide says what we can know versus what we need to know. I want to be, I'm a nutritionist. I've been working with clients for over 10 years. I'm almost 52. I'm an ultra runner. I'm a father of 3 and a husband. What I know about nutrition is a lot because of my job, because it's what I do. But what I need to know, as the person I just described, the father and the husband and the runner and the teacher and whatever, all the other things I do, is very little. I don't measure, count, or weigh any food. I don't do that for my family. What I need to know day to day is very little. I live it, and I don't think about it, and I don't micromanage it. A lot of clients I've had have come to me to start working. They say, okay, I've been taking my iFit and my Google Doc, and I have all my calories. And I go, toss it. We're not going to talk about that anymore. You don't want to live that way, and I don't want you to live that way. I want you to be happy and have fun and eat in a way that allows you to enjoy food, but also do cool stuff in all the other areas of your life. Right now, they're spending too much time micromanaging their food. So what I'm going to teach you today is, I'm not a joke, is about what you would need to know for most people. If you've got something going on like diabetes, of course, there's next level stuff. But for most people, nutrition is a very, very simple thing. I have a philosophy, a way of looking at nutrition that I'm going to explain that makes sense for most people, because they go, oh, okay, and they sort of get it. So this slide is what I just said. It's food first, but not only. So oftentimes people will go to, and there's no knock here because I love it, but they'll go to yoga, or they'll go to psychotherapy, or they'll go to Chinese herbals, or they'll go to Ayurveda. They'll do all these other kinds of things, and they're great, but they don't change how they fuel their bodies. And to me, that's the foundation. Like the body, the machine, the brain, everything works better and handles the stress of life better when it is well fueled. And especially, I'm going to come back to the pandemic because that's just where we're at right now. If there weren't a pandemic, Don would be sitting at this freaking conference table and we'd be having a coffee. But because of this, fueling this body is perhaps never been more important for most people who weren't alive in 1918 when the last pandemic hit. So we're in this place now where it's essential on a very physical level in case you contract the virus, but also on a stress level of fueling your body, feeling good, like really understanding the power of that. So that's my food first, but not only. Okay. This slide is a picture of all food. And I know I'm going to whip through this thing. I was doing a talk in North Carolina one time, and I said, time me on how long it takes me to explain nutrition. And it was 6 minutes. And so food, I'm going to explain this so that you can kind of see, and I'm going to use a couple analogies. So all food is made up of a combination of macronutrients and micronutrients. All food. Now, different foods have different amounts of these things on this list. The macronutrients we've all heard of because we talk about it a lot: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And the micronutrients we've heard of too: vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, and fiber and water. So the basic definition of food, for healthy or not, is that it is something that when we consume it and our bodies break it down, it can convert it into energy. That's the basic definition of food, whether it's a Twinkie or a cucumber. The calories of food are in protein, fat, and carbohydrates. That's the macronutrients. That's the calories. That's what defines food as food. If it's something that we can eat and convert into energy, it's got protein, fat, or carbohydrate, sometimes all three, sometimes only one, sometimes two, but it's got calories. The micronutrients come with the calories, but they don't fuel us. We don't convert those things into energy, but they're there. So the first analogy I use is that the macronutrients, the protein, fat, and carbohydrate, are the gas that you would put in a car. So the analogy is a car. The macronutrients are the gas you put in a car, and the micronutrients are the oil, the motor oil that you put in a car. So understand that to make a car run, you got to put gas in it, but to make it run well, so it lasts a long time, so that it's running it optimally, but also lasts for a while, you have to put motor oil in it. You have to have something that makes the machine run efficiently and cleanly, so there's no excess waste. So there's a balance and an efficiency of the way that the machine runs. That's the micronutrients. That's the motor oil. So again, energy is what drives the car, but if it drives well, it's because it has a machine that's functioning optimally. So in our country, in the United States anyway, I know there's people in Athens watching this thing, which is crazy, but in most developed countries, we have enough calories. If you can go to McDonald's, it's $2.50 for a Big Mac, and it's got plenty of protein, plenty of fat, plenty of carbohydrates. It's no problem, and it's cheap. We have a lot of calories in this country, in most developed worlds. We're okay on that, but we still keep talking about it like this discussion of protein all the time. Do you have protein? Is there enough protein? Good fat, bad fat. Carbohydrates are good for you. Carbohydrates are bad for you. It's really an irrelevant conversation because we got calories. We got that dialed in, like everybody's got enough calories. What we're lacking as a species is the micronutrients. Our machines aren't running well. We can go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a Bear Claw and a cup of coffee and get plenty of calories. No problem. But our machines aren't running well because oftentimes the food we eat is lacking micronutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the phytochemicals, antioxidants, the fiber, the water that hydrates us. Our food is lacking that. If you notice that the Big Mac I described, protein, fat, carbohydrates, has almost no micronutrients. So it has plenty of calories. If you're worried about protein, go get a Big Mac. But if you're worried about living well and being healthy, you got to figure out, and I'll give you plenty of examples, how to eat food that also has motor oil packaged with it so that the machine runs efficiently. So now I'm going to use another quick analogy, and that's as a gift box. And I described this in both of my books, the Healthy Families book and the first book. Every food is a gift box. And on the outside of that gift box, it's a present, is wrapping paper, because every present has wrapping paper. And I want you to think of the wrapping paper as the macronutrients. So protein, fat, carbohydrates on the outside of the box. Some boxes have a little more protein, a little less fat, carbohydrates, so on and so forth. White sugar, all the wrapping paper is carbohydrate. But what's inside the box are the micronutrients. So what I teach when I teach people is I talk about light box foods and heavy box foods. Every one of those packages has wrapping paper on it, but some of them differ by what's inside that box. And when we open a gift for Christmas or our birthday, we sort of toss the wrapping paper because it's not really that important. We want to know what's inside the box. This is a way of looking at food from now on so that you understand where health actually lies, which is not whether it has protein, fat, or carbohydrates, but what comes with those things. So what I teach people is ask this question: what comes with the protein I'm eating? What comes with the fat I'm eating? What comes with the carbohydrate I'm eating? That is the question of if you want to eat healthy. If you just want to eat and you don't care if it's healthy or not, make sure it's edible. That's it. But if you want it to be healthy, ask what comes with those calories, because that's where it's at. So in the heavy box, light box, heavy box realm, the lightest box foods in the world are refined plants. They are vegan because they don't have any animal products. People go, I was vegan, or I knew somebody was vegan, they weren't healthy. I go, probably, maybe they were eating French fries and drinking beer all day and they were vegan. Oreos are vegan. Whiskey is vegan. Thank goodness. And so there's just like things that are vegan, but they're not healthy because they lack the micronutrients. So white flour, white sugar, oils of any kind, olive oil, avocado oil, protein powders, junk food. So they are refined because they used to be something like brown rice, and then we made it white rice. They used to be whole wheat, and then we made it white flour. They used to be a soybean, which is phenomenally healthy, and we took the protein out of it and made soy protein powder. It's an olive, which has lots of the things on that list, but then we take just the fat out of it and it becomes olive oil, and now junk food, refined plants. The next heavy box is animal foods. Animal products have more micronutrients, and egg has way more that comes with it than white sugar by far. And as you even go up the animal realm, wild animals are even heavier box because their diets are better. It's like I do tell people who want to still eat animal foods, it's like, pay attention to where that animal comes from, because if it's malnutrient itself, it's not going to be a healthy thing to eat, dairy or meat. Next heavy and healthy is nuts and seeds. Now in this list, we have protein, fat, and carbohydrates are nuts and seeds, and everything on that micronutrient list except for water, because we dry them out usually before we eat them, but they're there. Next heavy box, whole grains and beans. Next heavy is fruit, and all the way up to vegetables. So what you basically see, and I have two big themes to make it even simpler for people. I now consider refined plants and animals we raise for food, not wild animals, animals we raise for food. I call those things technology now. I eat them sometimes. I'll have a beer, I'll have French fries. Jeff knows that I have a problem with French fries, so we all try to keep our distance whenever we can. But I call that technology, not food, technology. I still do it. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying identify it as technology. And then I take wild animals and whole plants, and I call that food. And there's the question, is it simple? Is eating healthy simple enough as this question, which is, am I eating more food than technology? And the answer is yes. How much food are you consuming versus technology? And that's kind of the question. Another way to look at it is, what's my proportion of heavy box food to light box food? Are most of my calories coming from heavy box foods? Foods that have energy, of course, the calories, but they come with a lot of other stuff, and that makes them healthy. My next theme, besides the food technology, the big theme is, if your food has fiber in it, it's healthier than if it doesn't. If your food has fiber in it, it's healthier than it doesn't. So here we go. The refined plants have no fiber. The animal foods, wild or domesticated, have no fiber. Whole plants have fiber. So let's talk about fiber for just 1 second. Fiber is, so now we all know each other really well because we've spent a good 10 minutes together. So we get about fiber helping us do the thing that we're all thinking about right now. So keeping our digestive tract clean and keeping us regular, amazing. But here's the thing that's overlooked that fiber does that is so essential and absolutely essential to what's going on with the pandemic right now and the coronavirus, which is we have this bacteria in our gut. Now we've all heard about probiotics and microbiome, and it's all real. There are, by some counts, more bacteria in our guts than cells in our bodies, but there's a little bit of, but anyway, there's a ton, trillions. The bacteria in our gut is the first line of defense of our immune system. This is very key and very important to understand. The first line of defense of our immune system. The bacteria in our gut help us regulate cravings, help us regulate weight. They create essential fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory. This is the good gut bacteria that's there. Guess what that eats? Fiber. So we often overlook the fact that fiber, yes, it does all the things of keeping us regular, but it also feeds that good gut bacteria, which is absolutely a key player. It communicates literally with the brain via the vagus nerve. There is a direct line between the bacteria in our gut and our brains. It is mood enhancing, bacteria in our gut. So one of my simple themes is, if your food has fiber in it, it's bonus, not Metamucil extracted, because we're not eating nut that way. Humans go like, well, fiber's great. Let me take it out of the food and put it in a jar and you can spoon it in your cup. And that's kind of weird. But fiber, if your food has fiber, here's what has fiber: fruit and vegetables, whole grains and beans, nuts and seeds. Fruit and vegetables, whole grains and beans, nuts and seeds. That's what has fiber. Animal foods have no fiber, and refined plants have no fiber. There's not a vegan issue because all those refined plants are vegan. Refined plants, animal foods have no fiber. Whole plants have fiber. So when you eat those whole plants, not only are you getting every one of them, including fruit, you're getting protein, fat, and carbohydrate in all whole plants. You're also getting more minerals, more vitamins, more phytochemicals, more antioxidants, and fiber. And if you're talking about fruits and vegetables, water, hydrating. It's that simple. If you go up the line and go to light box, you get almost no micronutrients. As you go up the line to vegetables, you get calories, but also lots of micronutrients with those calories. And it's literally that simple. So if you eat pasta and it's white flour, pretty light box. If you eat whole wheat pasta, heavier box. It's a way of looking at food and realizing that it's not that it has protein, fat, or carbohydrate that makes it healthy or not healthy. It is what comes with those things. And it is literally that simple. Now, as a nutritionist, if I'm working with someone and they've got diabetes, I'm going to make little tweaks for them, or cancer, of all the things I've worked with people, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. There's all these things going on, diverticulitis and ulcerative colitis. I'm going to make little tweaks initially. But eventually, when they normalize, the diet for our species is pretty all the way across. We're not, this person just needs this completely different diet than this person needs. Our variation is very, very little. In fact, what I find when I'm working with people is the variation in diet is only because of how much stress and how you're handling stress. Because here's one thing that stress does: it weakens digestion. So I've worked with people who have pretty good diets, but they're having health problems. So they come to me and go, I must not be eating well. And I look at their diet and I go, okay, your diet's pretty good. So guess what's happening? You're probably not digesting well. Your gut bacteria is probably screwed up, stress related. Your digestion is probably weakened. Hydrochloric acid in your stomach probably isn't robust. there's things that are happening. And so when we can work on the bigger picture of living well, so here I go to this, okay, so that's a test question. But anyway, so if I can go to the bigger questions, then we can talk about managing stress. And guess what? Digestion starts kicking back in a little bit. They're actually getting more food out of their food. So that's the primer. I would love to hear people's questions, but here's a test question, which I'm going to answer for you. But this is the government. I'm just going to show this real quick. Our government plate. You guys have seen this. I just want to point out one thing, which is forget about the dairy on there. But if you look at the plate, there's vegetables that you can eat. There's fruits that you can eat. There's grains that you can eat. And then look what's there, which is protein. You can't eat protein. You can eat food that has protein in it. And by the way, spinach has more protein than beef in it per calorie. Spinach has more protein than beef. But according to this plate, spinach has no protein because it's in the vegetable side, not on the protein side. So interestingly, vegetables are food, fruits are food, grains are food. Protein is not food. It is one of the macronutrients in food. So is fat and so is carbohydrate. It is very misleading to have protein, which is not food. Dairy is food, but protein is not food. You cannot eat protein. You can only eat food that has protein in it. And so it's very misleading. And this is just a way to show people how it takes a little bit of attention. So my kids, I've got a 16-year-old daughter and I've got 11-year-old twins. They've been 100% plant-based since birth. And people often say, oh my gosh, your kids are 100% plant. I bet you have to be really careful. And I go, I do. I have to be really careful, just not as careful as people who feed their kids meat, dairy, and refined plants. I have to be careful because we live in a world that has lots of junk food and a lot of misleading things like this chart. So I do have to pay attention. That's my book, Raising Healthy Parents, is about parents learning how to take care of themselves so they can parent the best way they know. And this is what this is about, because this kind of stuff is misleading. It makes people think that if they have a plate of fruits, vegetables, and grains, that they're missing something because they've got to have something in the protein wedge when there's protein in grains, fruits, and vegetables. So it's just a way to highlight one of the many things that are there out there. For whatever reason, I'm not going to get political. I don't really care. What I care about is helping people have the knowledge enough to where they can live well in spite of all the craziness that's hitting us. People walk in this door and their heads are about to explode. They come to the Stanford Inn and they're like, I've heard this keto diet and the plants and the carbs and the protein. And I go, let's take it easy. I'm going to explain how food is to be looked at scientifically and researched. And then we could leave us, go back to your house and go, okay, I understand this. I don't have to do this 100% of the time. I can have something that's less than healthy, no big deal. But if most of the time I'm eating really well, then I got it. And I can afford to have some French fries now and then, because you got to have French fries. Okay. So I'm going to finish this up by the big picture, which is the last slide. And honestly, it's like this quick. So the big picture is that it's not just about food. It is about feeding our bodies well, so that when we want to do other things, create, like Joan teaches, move our bodies, running, doing whatever, being with our kids, the stuff that actually really matters, and enjoying food too, but the stuff that really matters. This is the big picture. Managing your stress in whatever endeavor you want. If you like to travel, it'd be great to be healthy enough to travel. If you want to spend more time with your spouse, you want to be around, it'd be nice to be healthy enough to do that. If you want to be with your kids and have energy, I like that I can run at 52, that I can go for a 10-mile run, but that also I can horse around with my kids. And I want to be able to do that as long as possible. This is the real deal. This is the real thing. When you eat well, it is not giving up. It is not restriction. It is bringing in more abundance into your life so that you feel better and you can do more things and you're in a better mood, so that when you're around your family, you're a better version of you. I would say that I don't help people become new people. I help people become more of who they are. And that is my passion here at the Stanford Inn, the work that I do and the books that I write. It is about helping people bring out the real them into the world. But oftentimes we're reading the news too much and we're crazy with the pandemic and we're irritable and we're unhappy and we're stressed. And that's not serving anybody. It's not serving ourselves, and it's not serving the people that rely on us to be there for them. And so this is my passion here. I want this to be a fun thing, and it's not a giving up thing. It's like, let me bring in more of this stuff, and then also I can have a beer too, but most of the time, let me bring in this stuff, and that's really fun. So that's my talk. I'm going to stop sharing. So because people get sad if they can't see the bald head as big as they want to. And so here it is. Don't worry. It's well lit. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has or hear any comments.
So I certainly have plenty of questions, but we definitely want to hear from any of you. We do have a question from Mark and Maureen who have chimed in. What is a refined plant? I'm super curious on this too.
Okay, so I said it a little bit, but I'll go over it again. So a refined plant is a plant that used to be in its sort of original state, like whole wheat. And when we refine it, it means it's human mediated, so that we took something that was whole and we took something out of it and we made a refined product. So whole wheat becomes white flour, brown rice becomes white rice, okay? Olive becomes olive oil, and a soybean becomes protein powder. So a refined plant means we left, and this is the statistic, 90% of nutrition, essential nutrients, are lost during refining. So when we take whole wheat that has a big picture of stuff in that list, the macronutrients and the micronutrients, and convert it to white flour, we lose essential oils and fats, we lose vitamins and minerals. If you notice on white flour, oftentimes, most times, if you buy a white bread, it'll say enriched flour. That's because when they started with white flour, it has nothing left. So then they have to enrich it by manually putting in a few vitamins, because it's like white sugar at that point. Unless they put those vitamins, and still that doesn't even help. So it's like taking a sugar beet and taking the white sugar out of it. It's refining means you start with something that has more stuff and you end up with something with less. Oftentimes people think, well, olive oil is great, it's good fat. Olive oil is junk food. It's literally junk food. An olive has lots of stuff going on and the fiber that feeds that good gut bacteria. But when you refine it and just take the refined oil, you've lost all the good stuff that was in the olive and you're left with something refined. And I want to be clear once again, I'm not saying not to eat it. I eat olive oil. I just know that it's technology and I limit it. I try to limit it in terms of my day-to-day diet, and I have it once in a while and it's a treat.
Okay, that's really good, Sid. Thanks for clarifying on that.
Sure.
So somebody's asking, because you mentioned with olive oil, so we understand that that's really not so good. Are there any better oils, or what is your philosophy on other potential oils to use?
Right. So my philosophy on that is it doesn't make it healthy, but my favorite oil is extra virgin olive oil. If you're going to do oils, that I would say is most of the time the best one. But it's like maple syrup is to me better than white sugar, but it's kind of splitting hairs. Like it's still not a healthy food. It doesn't have fiber in it. It doesn't have much by way of micronutrients. So it's better, but not good. So there are no oils that I go, okay, that's the healthy oil. No oil has fiber in it. Every oil is a refined plant. A peanut oil used to be a peanut. Soybean oil used to be a soybean. Flax oil used to be flax seed. See what I mean? So it's never going to be a healthy food, but there's certainly levels where, non-organic canola oil is not as good as extra virgin olive oil for sure. But it's kind of a thin little, it's like splitting hairs a little bit.
Okay, that's good. For anyone who needs to leave early, I do want to just mention that I will be sending a follow-up email with a slightly edited recording of this along with some notes. So you will be getting that from me. We do have lots more questions. And if you would like to unmute your microphone and ask your question yourself, you are more than welcome to do that. I'll give you an opportunity to do that if you would like. Otherwise, I'll go through some of these questions. Anyone? We're shy today. Okay.
No, I'll ask one.
Okay.
Hi, it's Susan.
Thank you.
I'm really interested in hearing more about the gut bacteria and it being not in balance, let's put it that way, and then the cravings that come from that, and then how we can get it back in balance in a good way.
That is an excellent, excellent question. So when your gut bacteria is in balance, they call it dysbiosis. And what's interesting about it, so I'm a very much of an add-in nutritionist. When people come to me and want to talk about eating well, I never go like, stop eating the thing, because then they just keep thinking about the thing they can't have. So I go, keep doing that thing, but bring in all this other stuff. So when you're talking about cravings, so many people come say, I want to stop craving sugar. I go, okay, good. Keep eating the sugar, keep craving it, whatever. But while you're doing that, start bringing in food that has fiber in it. So start bringing in fresh fruits and vegetables. vegetables. Obviously, fruit's very sweet, so that's one way to sort of get into a little bit of sweetness there and go like, that's kind of sweet, kind of cool. It ain't chocolate sweet, but it's something. Bring that in. As you're bringing those foods, the nuts and seeds, I do kind of minimally, but fruits and vegetables, whole grains and beans, and then a little bit of nuts and seeds. You bring in more of those things, all of a sudden the bacteria is starting to get fed. Now you're maybe still eating the sugar, but now you're bringing it in, you're strengthening that bacteria. And in doing so, you are now creating a better balance of bacteria in your gut. And as you're doing that, all of a sudden, lo and behold, I've been doing this a long time, I've seen it time and time again, your cravings dissipate. You're feeling better also when you sort of don't want to tip the scales on that. You're like protective of feeling really good. And so you go like, I don't really feel like that. Or you go, I'll have a little bit, but you're way more in control. You never tried to stop doing it, but you brought in this other stuff that makes you feel vibrant and more energetic and better. I always come to mood because bacteria affects your mood. So you're happier, more, you're oftentimes our so-called bad habits of eating, frankly, come from stress. Like we're stressed at the end of the day. And now the pandemic, cheese pizza is a great stress relief. It just doesn't make us healthy long-term, so it can kind of continue to add stress to us. So it is really for me about bringing in the fiber that feeds that bacteria and creating that better balance over time. And that to me is what I would coach anybody who walked in the Stanford Inn and asked about that same question. It's a great question. Thank you.
And would that be the same answer if someone, and I'll tell you why. I probably had COVID. They said it was pneumonia, but I was hospitalized for over 2 weeks.
Whoa, okay.
So IV antibiotics for that whole time.
Yeah.
And I eat a lot of, especially vegetables, but fruits and vegetables. I'm not a vegetarian though. But it's like I am hungry all the time. Doesn't matter how much I eat, I'm still hungry. And I've gained 15 pounds in the last 3 months. So
totally get it. So I'm, first of all, really glad that you're not in the hospital anymore and that you came through that. But with the antibiotics, and by the way, I'm not anti-Western medicine either. When I have clients who go like, I've just been on long years of antibiotics, I'm like, okay, good to know. They were probably necessary because your doctors know what they're doing, but let's now talk about rebuilding that bacteria. So over time, you want to bring in more of that food, and animal protein is highly inflammatory. Refined plants are highly inflammatory, and that's going to be stressful on the gut bacteria. So it is always going to come down to, right now, don't diet, just bring in more of those fruits and vegetables. Oftentimes people are afraid of fruit because of the sugar, but remember what comes with that sugar is an abundance of amazing nutrition that is going to fuel your body amazingly well, plus fatty acids and protein, by the way, in fruit. That's why orangutans are doing just fine on mostly fruit. We're no problem. So the cravings that you're feeling are probably, I'm totally guessing here, but probably a result of the fact that you were just on a string of antibiotics. I would look for, or at least part of that picture, I'm not going to say it's causal, but it's part of that picture. People have cravings because one of the reasons is here, but also the bacteria. A good probiotic to look into. There's lots of good ones out there. I'm not connected to any companies financially or like nutrition companies or supplements, nothing. And I never have been, I never will be. So anything I ever mention to clients is I don't get a cut. I'm no affiliate, just to be clear, but look into some probiotics and start to rebuild that. But probiotics are amazing, but not enough, because you still got to feed it with a healthy diet and understand that stress creates dysbiosis too. So it is always going to be things that you're doing that are non-food related as well. That's where, deep breathing, nasal breathing. I'm doing a lot of research right now into the breathing side of things, how that creates an optimal stress level for us. So that's the bigger picture of healthy living right there in a nutshell. So to me, I would bring in even more fruits and vegetables. And then, over time, maybe those animal products that you eat are more of treats, like once in a while kinds of things, because remember, they're in the technology realm. So to upset that balance a little bit in a good way and to bring in even more calories from fruits and vegetables. A head of lettuce is like 40 calories. People think, oh, I eat so much vegetables, I eat a head of lettuce every day. That's only 40 calories. So to really tip the scales means abundance. I always joke, like I'll eat 5 bananas, or I'll eat 5 bananas and 3 apples. Especially if I'm training for something, because I got to get enough calories from those whole plants that don't have, a tablespoon of olive oil is 120 calories because it's so refined. It's this little bit, and a head of lettuce is only a third of the amount of calories in a tablespoon of olive oil. So it really is eating enough bulk of those whole plants to get enough calories to really make a difference.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So Sid, what do you think about products like Beyond Meat? I mean, it definitely sounds like a very refined plant.
Yeah, literal junk food.
Yeah.
Literal junk food. So what they do with the Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger, all those kinds of things, is they're trying to beef is two things: protein, not very much. It's about 20% protein, and 80% fat.
Whoops.
So everyone it's mostly fat. So you've got your protein and fat. So Beyond Burger goes, okay, we want to get that fired up, and so we take pea protein. That's not. They take the protein out of a pea. They take protein out of brown rice and out of a soybean. So now you've got this refined protein. It's kind of chewy, and then they throw a bunch of coconut oil at it. So now they've got their protein and their fat. Then they spice the crap out of it because they start with something pretty bland, and they bring it back up. So that's what they do. It doesn't have animal products in it. Potentially, there's an argument saying it's better for the environment because of that. But nutritionally, it is absolute junk food, probably worse than beef nutritionally. I mean, beef has vitamins and minerals in it that are part of that food. Beyond Burger is a highly refined product. So ethically, it's not hurting animals, and environmentally, it's a better product. But nutritionally, let's be clear, it's not a healthy food.
And what about tofu? How refined is tofu?
Pretty refined. So tofu, they'll sort of boil the beans and they kind of slurry it up, and they kind of, if they were doing it manually, they would put everything in a cheesecloth and they would squeeze that out, and that milky liquid comes in, and then they coagulate that, usually with calcium, and they solidify it. But all the good stuff of the soybean is tossed. So it is a pretty darn refined product too. And again, in this kind of hyper focus on protein, and frankly, people are eating too much protein in this country. Too much protein. And so I eat tofu. I like it, but it's technology. And so I just eat it for fun when I have it. I love it. I mean, I love like a good tofu scramble is amazing, but I don't think, oh my gosh, I got to eat my tofu. I never think that. I go, oh, it's just a treat kind of thing.
What about tempeh? Do you think tempeh is any better than tofu?
It's slightly better. It is definitely, it's a good question. It's so and this is why the heavy box, light box thing really works for people, because it's not a like black and white, like this is good and this is bad. So in the spectrum of light box to heavy, you've got soy protein isolate, which you would find in like a protein powder. That's literal junk food. Then better is tofu. Then heavier box is tempeh. And then heaviest box is the soybean. Why? Because it's the original like untouched state. And that's, again, part of my book, Approaching the Natural. That is approaching the most natural state is soybean. So if you're trying to improve your diet, it's simply like move up that spectrum. You don't have to go from 0 to 60. And I wouldn't even recommend you do overnight, because you'll freak out and your family will think you're crazy. But if you go a little bit up the spectrum, then you're going, from tofu to tempeh, and then tempeh to a soybean. And I think that's a great question. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here, to kind of give people an idea of really, if you're going to something that looks more like it's supposed to look, it's healthier. That goes for animal and plant.
And Sid, while we're talking about soybeans, what are your thoughts about soybeans as it relates to being like an estrogen mimicker and all of this that we hear about soybeans being not so good?
Yeah, so the science on that is that soy is extremely healthy. There's been a very, very marked and intentional effort to discredit soy. What you're talking about is phytoestrogens. Michael Greger has a book called How Not to Die. He's got a lot of good and fully backed up. There's nobody better in the business right now. He runs a site called Nutrition Facts. There's nobody better in terms of research and what's out there and looking at the research. The estrogens in soy are phenomenally healthy. That's why Asian countries have lower rates of things like breast cancer. I don't think anybody should be eating soy all day, every day, but that goes for most foods at all. But the fear of soy, I had a woman on my first podcast, it was called the Approaching the Natural podcast, named Marie Ozer, who wrote a book called The Skinny on Soy. Great book, showing where all that misinformation came from. People are afraid of soy. We got criticized at the Inn by a woman over 50. She said, how dare you serve soy to a woman over 50? She's not informed. It's not something to be afraid of at all. That is misinformation. The phytoestrogens in soy are actually good for us. If you look at the actual science, they're good for us. So please, I'm not connected to this guy. We speak at some events and he kind of walks past me, has no idea who I am. But Michael Greger, nutritionfacts.org, go look at some of those videos. He looks at the actual research and will show you the truth of these things so we can sort of wade through the misinformation.
Okay, that's great. I'm taking some notes too, and I'll get those resources from you,
Cool.
Sid. I'll put them in the follow-up email as well.
Great.
So someone has asked me, have you heard of any good things for female hormones when going through menopause or
I
perimenopause?
have, and my wife will hate me, but she's going through it. And so I will say that interestingly, a lot of her friends that went through it way earlier than she did, she's going to be 51 and she's kind of in the middle, had wide swings of hormones and wide swings of hot flashes. She's had virtually none of those things. We've both been 100% plant-based for 18 years. She gave birth to all 3 of my kids, 100% plant-based. The fact of the matter is this is why it's very simple. The same healthy foods that have fiber are the same things that even us out hormonally. They are the same things that even us out stress-wise. So it is, I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, and I'm really happy that some people still know what records are, but fresh fruits and vegetables as your base, enough of those things, whole grains and beans, and a little bit of nuts and seeds, a tendency to be a lower fat diet, higher carbohydrate. I know that sounds crazy. I'm not talking about refined sugar carbohydrates or white flour carbohydrates, or, I'm talking about whole carbohydrate, like I'm talking about whole protein and whole fat. More of those foods even us out in every regard. And guess what? Broken record, all the other things. So managing our stress is a way to even ourselves out. We can do that nutritionally and we can do that mentally. I call it the difference between physical nutrition, how we move our bodies, how we eat, and mental nutrition. What are we putting in our heads? Are we reading books, or are we on the news all day? Are we, getting freaked out? Are we listening to things that are putting us in bad moods more often than not and causing us stress? Or are we doing some things are we on social media all the time? Or are we balancing those things out? You want to talk about real boots on the ground, evening yourself off if you're in menopause? That's the picture of it. First and foremost, fuel your body really well, but also take care of the other parts of your life so that you're as even as possible here as well.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you said, I think at the beginning, food first, but we have to look at, what's happening stress-wise and all this other stuff, that it's all part of the equation. We're a connected body.
I have seen so many people now, again, when I speak around the country, because I'm speaking to lots of people in the thousands now, I have seen more people now so stressed about food that their diets are not helping them that much. They are so overstressed about food and so micromanaging their food, and all they think about is food and all they talk about is food. And even if their diets are pretty good, it's not serving them well. And it's a big concern of mine, because my job and what we do here at the Inn is to try to get people to live better. We want people to leave here feeling vibrant and energetic. I don't want somebody leaving my class going, oh my God, now I'm doing so many bad things, I have to change everything. No, you do not. But if you want over time, you can make steps in moving in that direction to feel better over time and do it in a way that doesn't put everything else in your life on hold.
That's great. Does anyone else have any questions? I think we have one left here from Mark, who asks, how do you recommend frying foods, such as making a stir fry without using oil?
Well, I'll tell you 2 things. You can easily do a stir fry, and we do them here at the Inn by doing like a braising. We call it braising. Basically, we do a braising sauce. And so what I do day to day at home is I just do it in a little veggie broth or a little soy sauce and water. We switched our beans from oil, where we would do the onions and garlic and oil. And we decided, Jeff was like, let's just take the oil out. And so we took the oil out, did the onions and garlic in a broth, made the beans. Nobody ever knew. Nobody said these beans taste different. There was literally no difference at all. So a couple things you can do is either saute and braise in broth and use the same herbs and spices. Or another trick that I teach in the cooking classes is heat your pan up dry, no oil, get it about medium heat, pour your oil in, don't measure it, but put enough in where you can spread it around, and then pour off the excess. So you coat the pan, but you pour off the excess. Now you're left with a coating. Then throw your onions and garlic in there and they get coated and you're fine. And the other thing to do is when you're roasting vegetables, you can do it in broth, but we also sometimes will use a spray oil. So we do a very light dusting and you kind of just go and it kind of coats it just enough. But what people do is they put their vegetables in a bowl and they guzzle oil, and it's like overkill. And what's weird is that as I've been eating this way, I I don't like so much oil now. Like a little bit's fine, but if there's a little too much oil, I actually don't like it, and it kind of turns my stomach. That high fat is really a trigger on dysbiosis. Like high fat diets are really rough on the gut bacteria, which is why like the keto diet and the paleo diet are, frankly, keto diet's dangerous. It's great for weight loss if that's what your goal is, but if your goal is health and a healthy weight as a side effect of health, you're going to stay away from those kinds of diets because they're really rough on your gut in general. So that's what I would say about sauteing, just to minimize it. Just try to minimize it. You don't have to get all the way away from it. I will do things with oil on the weekends. Usually we'll have a special meal, but day to day, we don't use oil in the house. We use it very sparingly.
Okay, that's great. So when you mentioned the keto, is that because they're eliminating the whole grains?
Well, keto is eliminating. They're eliminating almost everything that has fiber in it. So yeah, they're not doing the grains, they're not doing the beans, they'll do some vegetables, but not enough calorically to tip the scale. So most of the calories in most standard keto diets are going to be from animal products that have no carbohydrates. By the way, the brain is fueled off only one macronutrient, protein, fat, or carbohydrate. Guess which one? Carbohydrate. So all of a sudden, carbs have become a bad word when our brains are designed to live off carbohydrates. So what the keto diet does is removes carbohydrates out of in any substantial way and puts the body in essentially a starvation state where it's going to convert fat into what's called ketone bodies. And that's going to fuel the brain in the interim. But that's a starvation stress mode. That's not a vibrant feeling good. That's my body going, okay, I got to survive until we can get some carbohydrates back up in here. And so that's what's happening with that diet. So it's removing so much fiber that to me, it's creating long-term issues. People, again, they go for it to lose weight, but their breath is going to get bad. Their skin's going to get bad. Your body's literally breaking down. People go, oh, I lost a bunch of weight. I go, don't care. I want you to be healthy. And I'm at a healthy weight. I have a flat stomach and I eat an extremely high carbohydrate diet. That's because I'm eating it in the context of more natural fiber containing foods. That's why. So
tell us, what are some of your favorite or preferred like carbohydrates and whole grains?
I love fruit. My kids have one rule of food in the house, which is they can eat fruit whenever they want. This is anti to most parents that I work with who are afraid to give their kids fruit. My kids can eat fruit literally all day. They can eat fruit right before dinner and not be as hungry for dinner. So fruits of any kind are amazing. Vegetables of any kind. My family is going through 15 heads of lettuce a week. We do, tons of tomatoes and cucumbers and whatever you like, vary it up. Grains wise, rice now has arsenic in it. So I'm telling people, and it's true, it's just the way it's grown in the water. So variety is a big thing. Quinoa, buckwheat, amaranth, millet, wild rice, mix it up a little, have fun with these things. There's so many good things. Beans of any kind, phenomenal. Whole grains and beans. They're all high carbohydrate. Beans, everyone goes, oh, beans, protein. But if you look at the breakdown, mostly it's come from carbohydrates, but incredibly healthy carbohydrates. Spinach, super high in protein. It's about 40% protein, but it's still 60% almost of carbohydrate. Amazing carbohydrate, fuels the brain. Why? Because it has other stuff with it. It has so much powerful nutrition that our machines are running really, really well on that.
That's great. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for Sid? He has so much knowledge here. Matthew, have any comments on coffee? Any comments on coffee?
Coffee? It's the best thing ever. What is it? Was I not clear on that? Here's how nutty I am. I roast my own beans. I've been doing this for 20 years. I roast my own beans. I love coffee so much. However, this is a perfect example. Like, it's what you do. I call it the mott in both my books, MOTT, mott, most of the time. It's what you do most of the time. So I love coffee and I drink it every day, but I don't drink it a lot. I drink about 2 cups maximum per day. I don't think it's an extremely healthy food. You'll read things that say coffee, Americans get most of their antioxidants from coffee. That doesn't mean coffee's great for antioxidants. It means that our American diets are so bad that coffee is the place that we're getting our antioxidants. And so so enjoy it, but I was running a meal plan, like a healthy eating through this this place called No Meat Athlete, if you guys are familiar with that, but Matt Fraser and I co-authored a meal plan system. And somebody said, my doctor told me to drink 6 to 7 cups of coffee per day for the antioxidants. And I was like, that is insane. And so when you eat a good diet of whole plants, you don't need to rely on anything else for antioxidants. So coffee is a joy for me. It's a light box, it's a technology, and I like it. But it's not a healthy food. So good to know.
Yeah. Do you think it ties in with stress? Matthew's asking.
I think too much. I think too much coffee. Actually, but the thing is, like, people drink red wine for the resveratrol or whatever. If you look at the blue zones around the world, the communities that live the longest, there's like one through line, because they all have sort of different diets, but they generally eat pretty natural diets, but they all drink alcohol. And so it's not that alcohol is good for you, but here's the bigger picture of living well. You sit down for a glass of wine with your family at the end of the day, or your friend, and it's enjoyable. And that's the thing that we often forget, is when we dive into that militant side of living, we go, I can never have a glass of wine now because of this. It's like, if that's fun for you and you sit down and have a glass of wine, like I have a cup of coffee in the morning with my wife, that's stress reducing. I'll argue that till the cows come home. I will defend that as a nutritionist forever, because it speaks to the better way of living, like to enjoy life. Now, if I have problem with alcohol, I wouldn't drink it at all. But because I can have a glass of wine that I probably will have tonight, by the way, it's fun, but I won't have it every night. And during the week, we don't have any alcohol during the week, but on weekends we'll have a glass of wine, or we'll have a scotch or something like that. So again, like, where is that for you? I don't want to say you must drink a glass of wine every Friday. I'm not going to do that. But if it's fun for you and it gives you joy, then it is right on the money.
Well, you started off your talk saying, be happy and have fun. So you have to incorporate food like that.
If there's no ethical problems for you, if it's not a problem in terms of an addictive part of it, if it's not your most of the time. I mean, look, I like a glass of wine, but if I drank 3 glasses of wine every night, I would suffer physically for that. I know I would not feel as good as I feel right now. So I have to find a place for me, given the other things I do, running, being with my family. Where does that fit in a way that doesn't tank me? Where does that fit in so that I can enjoy it, but it doesn't tank my health? That's my question for me. And I want everybody else to ask that question for them. Where can I fit this in, if anywhere, that works for me? But if it's too much, that it makes me feel worse, then there's that slippery slope down. And I don't want people doing that if they want to live well.
Well, and it's like onto the coffee conversation or the alcohol conversation. Like, everybody is different, and like everybody, like maybe 1 cup of coffee for somebody is just way too much, and their
totally
goes through the roof, and they just have it. And somebody else, the 2 a day is great. The same thing with alcohol. Some people cannot touch it at all. Somebody else can have, maybe it's a glass of wine a night. I don't know, but
that's right. Now I've been doing more research into sleep, and there is a real thing about, people go like, I could drink coffee at 8 and go right to sleep, 8 at night and go right to sleep. And I could too for many years, but science has showing now that even if you go to sleep after having a cup of coffee and you can fall asleep and even sleep through the night, caffeine does affect how deep of a sleep you get into. It's not REM, but it's called NREM. And it's a depth of sleep that caffeine can offset. So for me personally, and again, I'm not telling anybody to do anything, I stop caffeine by about 11 a.m. most days. And this is a new thing, and it's probably because I'm in my 50s now, but I stopped drinking it around 11:30, whereas I used to have a cup of coffee like at 2 or 3. And I can tell my sleep pattern. I wake up feeling more refreshed. That is absolutely, like, for real, that happens. So I'm sort of done with caffeine by 10 or 11, so that my body has enough time to sort of get rid of it all. And it's out there by the time I go to bed at 10:30 or 11 or whenever I go to bed. So I've definitely found it improved my sleep.
That's a good point. And I think that it's like what we're saying, it's very individual too. So it's a trial and error on certain things. That's right. If you're following your principle with, fruits and veggies, whole grains and fibers, and then you're playing with different things, some a little bit or not, how it impacts. I mean, I've noticed as I've gotten older now, I mean, like the alcohol as well. Sometimes it's just like 2 glasses of wine, and I just feel the next day, I just feel
totally
tired and low energy. And especially my son is only 6 now. So when he was young too, I was like, what am I doing? I can't even keep up. I'm tired. If I just had that 1 extra glass of wine, and essentially that's being hungover, even just.
Yeah, we change, we age, and all those things. And you know, again, like maybe on a given night, you can afford to get up the next day and feel a little worse, and because it was so fun to be at that party. Again, that's a question for everybody, not for me to, you know, to tell people what to do. But I think those are good questions to ask. And I think that if you take a broad view of health and say, you know, do I enjoy the wine, or does it, I like it in the moment, but I don't like it long-term because of the way it makes me feel, then you can make a good educated decision about that. I mean, let's all face it, if you go to McDonald's and have a Big Mac, it's pleasurable. It tastes great and it's so good and it tastes amazing. But long-term, that habit will not make you feel good overall. And so it's just kind of that balance of like, what are you doing that's not healthy, and how, what is the long-term effect of that? Is it a one-off and you feel a little wonky for a while, but it's okay because most of the time you eat really well? Or is most of the time you're eating fast food and you have one salad? That ain't gonna do it either. It is about what you do most of the time.
Well, I love this from Dolores. And so she says, switching to plant-based vegan for meals when you have a busy schedule, you know, what are some resources? You have limited time and energy to cook all your meals from scratch. And before I ask Sid to answer that, Dolores, I actually did a virtual retreat on this a few weeks ago when we featured Capri. So I'll send you the notes from that too, because it was all about simplifying at home plant-based meal prep. So there was some really great takeaways from that, but I'll let you, Sid, kind of give your input there as well.
One of the biggest misconceptions, two biggest misconceptions about whole plants, about a whole plant-based diet. And I have to say that because again, vegan can be wildly unhealthy, you know, if you're eating Oreos and French fries. Okay. So if you're talking about the healthy version of vegan, which is to me the healthiest diet you can eat, two biggest misconceptions. One, that you have to be really careful, more careful. Not true. That's why I feed my kids this way, so I don't have to worry about food and I don't have to think about it. And two, that it takes more time. Absolutely not true. So it can take time, like any diet can take time. I eat only Italian food and I make everything from scratch, my pastas. None of that could be vegan, but it takes a ton of time. Or I can be very simple. So the same thing applies. I work full-time, multiple jobs. My wife works full-time, and we have 3 kids, for crying out loud. We don't spend any more time in the kitchen than anybody else we know, and nobody we know except for Joan and Jeff are vegan. And we spend less time in the kitchen. So in the morning, I'll take 4 bananas and walk out my door. How much time does that take? Well, bananas aren't food. Of course they are. They're amazing. Making pasta, use whole wheat pasta, brown rice pasta. There's now these like quinoa pastas. There's all these amazing things that are made from whole plants. Boil those up, open a can of organic marinara sauce that has good ingredients in it. You guys know if it's high in oil, okay, fine. But if it's low in oil, and some of those have barely any, like 1 gram of fat per serving, crack open a jar, boom, big salad on the side. Bake some potatoes, sweet potatoes, amazing. People are afraid of potatoes, for crying out loud. I did a YouTube video, you guys should look it up, called Fear the Potato. And I go down to our head gardener, Matt Druno, and I joke, I kind of bombard. He didn't know I was coming down there, so it's kind of a funny video. Anyway, called Fear the Potato. Very easy things. At my house, we'll do burrito night. We crack open a can of Amy's organic refried beans. We have a pressure cooker. We make brown rice or quinoa. We saute a quick saute in broth of onions and spinach and whole grain tortillas, quinoa, beans, spinach, onion. Wrap that thing up, salsa on the top. Amazing. Big salad on the side. Like super easy. You don't have to combine food. That's all a myth. It's 40-year-old information, combining beans and rice to get a complete protein. All that stuff has been debunked. And that one actually was debunked by the very author who said it herself, Frances Moore Lepay. She said, actually, it's not true. You don't have to combine to get a complete protein. You eat a variety of plants, you're fine. That's how cows somehow have a complete protein, even though they're vegan, and plenty of calcium, even though they're vegan. And so it's very easy to do this. That's a common misconception, and we have fun with it here because people go, well, if I had a chef, I would eat this way. It's like, yeah, if I had a chef, I'd eat this way too. Ravens is amazing. I don't eat that way day to day. It's a restaurant. It's an amazing restaurant. That's why you go to a restaurant, because somebody else is doing it in cool stuff for you. But at home, week to week, we're just doing, we throw together a lentil soup in the pressure cooker. We make pasta. We've, broccolini, steamed vegetables or roasted vegetables on the side, and a big salad. I mean, it's easy stuff. This is like no problem. My wife and I are whipping up dinner in 30 minutes or less, and with leftovers the next day. And 2 nights a week, we do leftover nights. So it's like it really, really is the easiest thing in the world. So I just want to make sure people don't let that stop you. If you've got other reasons to not do it, fine. But no, don't make it about time or that you have to pay more attention nutritionally, because both those things are just simply not true.
We might have to follow you around for about a week and see what all the little, the inside or,
That would be great. Dawn, let's do that. You can just literally follow me around for a week.
So one of the
Worst virtual retreat ever.
So one of the other tips, and I'll share this in the follow-up email because I do put together a follow-up email with lots of different resources that we've spoken about. But one of the things that we talked about on the plant-based meal prep virtual retreat was preparing basically like Sunday. Chop up some of your vegetables, prepare some things. I mean, Sid's saying maybe no, I think.
Look, I talk about this in my Raising Healthy Parents book. Like, if that batch cooking works for you, do it. Sunday is one of my very few days off. I do not want to spend Sunday cooking. I want to spend Sunday with my family. And any day off I have, I want to be with my family and hang out. So for me, here's what we do at my house. We have a pretty regular batch of recipes that we've gotten really good at and really knowledgeable with and really familiar with. So we tend to pull from about 7 different recipes that we sort of keep as our core. And, like Monday nights, we'll kind of do our Monday night dinner, and Tuesday nights, we'll sort of do our Tuesday night dinner, and so on and so forth. When we have more time, like on a weekend, like tonight, we'll make something different because we enjoy trying something new and we have time to do that. But in general, we sort of pull from a pool of fixed recipes. And then if we get tired of one, we take that one out and shove another one in. When you work from a pool of recipes, you don't have to batch cook, you don't have to meal plan, and you get very familiar with these recipes so that even the shopping, which people forget about, the shopping becomes easier because you know exactly where to get everything. You go you go, boom, 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 same thing. You're out of the market faster than even before. And so it creates a model for me. And I'll be frank, for most people I work with, and when I did that No Meat Athlete plan, most people dug that model of being able to throw things together during the week rather than prepping all day Sunday or even for 2 hours. I don't want to spend 2 hours doing anything on Sunday except for just hanging out with my kids. So that's my take on that. But again, if that works for you because of your whole life, then do it.
Sid, that's great. And I'm going to, after this, I'm going to poke you maybe for a couple of your favorite recipes that we can share in the follow-up, because I know I would love that. And I'm sure some other people might love that too.
Sure.
So I think we're kind of about at time to wrap up. So I just want to make sure I give anybody who's there to chime in with any last questions that you might have, whether it be for Sid or Jeff and Joan. I do see Jeff there. I'm sure Joan is not too far away either. If you have any questions, you'd like to unmute your microphone, we'd love to hear from you.
Quiet group.
Oh my God, Jeff was here the whole time?
Yes, I was here most of the time. And I would like to add that one of the things that we discovered, and I know that Sid discovered because we talk all the time, is that as you pay attention to your body, how it feels, you get better at it. So you'll know things like that coffee's affecting you differently now. And it's kind of interesting because those changes go, sometimes you return to when you can drink coffee at 8 o'clock and you may not notice the NREM isn't as deep, but what you will do is be able to sleep the whole night through. It actually changes all the time. You have to pay attention to your body. You check in with your body every day by just being more sensitive to it. And the food in the American diet actually depresses or reduces our ability to sense our diet. It kind of sense our body. It kind of anesthetizes us to it. I can't say that very well, but in any case, it's very important to become more sensitive by just attending to it. How do I feel this morning? How do I feel before I'm going to bed? And so on and so forth. You get where wine is affecting you or whatever is going on, you pick it up and you're learning all the time. We just got asked, Joan's not here right now, our kids are up here, so she's with them, but we got asked the other day in an interview, how do we stay alive? And that, to the world in our mid 70s, and it's very easy. We're just interested. And when you start paying attention to the plants out here where I'm standing, or the traffic that's going by, your mind engages, and you got to sometimes not let it run too far with that kind of stuff. Just paying attention to your life, wherever it is. In a room now with COVID-19, you'll notice something in a corner you never noticed before. Probably a sow bug or a pill bug or whatever you call those little bugs that look like armored plates. You'll notice things and you'll watch them instead of killing them. Seriously, the more you engage in the moment, the more your life opens, and it's like a flower that just keeps opening, and there are new petals all the time, but the old ones don't rot away. I don't know what else to add to that. Sid, move.
Thank you.
There you go.
So much, Jeff. That's really great. So I think we are kind of out of time to wrap up. If you still have something else you'd like to add in, just give me a wave like this and I'll stop talking. But I think this has been really amazing. Everybody has been really engaged on the chat, certainly. So maybe we had some shy people to unmute the microphones, but that's okay, because I know we heard from so many of you on the chat. And starting with Catherine with the yoga really opened us up, and hearing all of the inspiration from Jeff and Joan is just amazing. If we haven't yet been to Stanford Inn like myself, we want to be there. And Sid, you have just such a wealth of knowledge. So I've taken some notes, but we'll do a little recap and I will prepare those notes for all of you. If you are ready to travel again, or when you are ready to travel again, I would love to hear from you, because I can help you with any and all of those travels with some really great preferred rates and VIP amenities. Jeff, do you have anything else to add? Any special things that we should know in terms of promotions, or when people, how people can come back and enjoy Stanford Inn right now?
Check our website. We'll come up with some specials, and we put up there quite often. And we need to do that now. It's kind of a weird time. It's hard to engage with our guests like we have in the past, and we will again in the future. But right now it's, social distancing and so on. So we just want to provide, what we're doing now is providing, and we're hearing great stuff, just providing the property so that people can feel safe and therefore not fret over it, not create more tension and more stress, and they can get a chance to get in touch with themselves again. That's what I was saying earlier, just with regard to the body. Eating not such a good diet puts stress on the body, which makes it harder for us to attend to ourselves and tend to our bodies, and attend to the environment, attend to each other. And that's really what's important. I mean, how we know each other, how we know ourselves is all through relationship. And you can't do that if you get sucked into yourself. So de-stress, come here, go for a walk wherever you live. Walk, and breathing will become more natural, particularly if you're not trying to explain something to the person you're walking next to. But it's always wonderful to walk with somebody and maybe hold hands.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much, everyone. It was so nice to spend the morning together. Sid, amazing. And Sid and I have been coordinating this, I think, for about 4 months. So maybe we'll do another, because now I think we have it down packed, but it really is just a great opportunity in these kind of strange times to connect. And that's what the purpose is: connect, learn something, and explore. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joan.
Thank
and
you.
Jeff and Joan. That was amazing. Thank you so much.